Before Virginia Tech took the field on Saturday with Austin Peay, I had a chance to catch up with Nathan Warters, our friend from the News and Advance, covers the Hokies for the paper. We talked about the Hokies win against Georgia Tech and looked ahead to Austin Peay, as well as just some miscellaneous notes about the Hokies. It's Nathan Warters on the Sports Buffet Podcast.
Always love having Nathan Warters on the Sports Buffet Podcast, Virginia Tech beat writer for the News and Advance. And Nathan, before we get into Austin Peay, Virginia Tech really gave a lot of fans of theirs probably a scare on Monday night against Georgia Tech. Let's start with the good. If you were a Virginia Tech fan, what do you see that you would be pleased about?
Well, I think the comeback in general, just the way the team kind of stuck with it there in the fourth quarter and overtime was probably the biggest upside of what happened on Monday night. I mean, you saw some struggles there, especially in the third quarter there on offense, but they stuck with it and pulled the win out. And I think, what's lost in the drama of the victory was Georgia Tech's a tough opponent. That offense is just really tough to defend, and the defense did so well. And to win that opener, especially with the past struggle that Tech has had in season openers against bigger name opponents, that was a big victory for them. So to be able to pull it out, I think, was probably the biggest positive that came from that on Monday.
Tomorrow Saturday might not be a big deal with Austin Peay coming to town, but Virginia Tech has lost to JMU before at home, so anything's possible. But with that being said, how long is Virginia Tech going to depend on Logan Thomas to kind of win games for them without the running game being as stellar as it's going to be by the time we're all said and done?
They're not going to be able to win games if they can't run the football. I mean, it's pretty simple. And Monday was it's kind of a different story just because of the way the game was going and the fact that it was the first game of the season. I don't expect the run game to struggle on Saturday against Austin Peay. I don't expect it to struggle at any point. They'll have ups and downs, but I expect it to be a big part of the offense from this point forward. I think that'll be a focus, point of interest there, of emphasis, against Austin Peay. Logan will be able to, win games for him. He'll be able to, have those fourth quarter, 2-minute drill type situations where he'll be really crucial for them. But I think they really want to keep that balance going. They want to develop that, and I think that's what you're going to see on Saturday. I really think that this is an opportunity for the Hokies to, work on some of the areas that they struggled in on Monday to get the run game going. You're going to see a lot of backups. You're probably going to see Mark Liao a lot. But they're also going to want to see Logan, pass the ball better. You'd like to see his footwork. Be a little bit better. That was one area that he said he needed to work on. To help his accuracy. He was throwing a little erratically there, especially there in the third quarter. Finally got it going there in the fourth. But they have a lot of areas, offense, defense, special teams that they need to work on. I think this is probably a good game for them because they've got a big win under their belt. Now they've got a game where they can kind of work on the things that they didn't do well against Georgia Tech and move forward from it. So I think you'll see that on Saturday.
How would you grade the defensive performance from Monday night?
I think they were outstanding. I mean, I'd give them an A+. They gave up two touchdowns. That drive in the fourth quarter, that was a tough drive. But Georgia Tech's one of those teams where it's just it's not an if proposition, it's a win. When do they put that drive together? And it was, with 44 seconds left, they scored a touchdown. Their first touchdown came when they had a short field after that botched punt there in the first quarter. So, their goal is to give up, they don't want to give up more than, I think it was 13 touchdowns is what they said all season. I don't know how realistic that is, but to only give up 2 touchdowns against Georgia Tech, an offense that averaged, that returned pretty much everybody from an offense that averaged almost 5 or more than 500 yards a game last year. That was really impressive, and the way they played and the way they stuck with it. The big play they got in overtime, I just think that that's what you're going to see this year. And this offense, this defense for Virginia Tech has got a chance to be really special this year. I think they got off on the right track on Monday.
Is there anybody you feel that Virginia Tech has to be worried about in terms of opposition that most people just aren't thinking right now?
In until Carolina, I don't know. I don't know if that's really. I think they pretty much have a nice, manageable schedule up to that point. Cincinnati looked pretty good last night, but I'm not sure if that was just that Cincinnati was good or Pittsburgh is that bad. Their tech schedule is not easy, but the hardest part of their schedule is that last 5-6 weeks stretch where they've got to play all the big names in the conference there. But from this point forward, they've got Austin Peay this week. They go to Pitt, who is just not good at all. Even at Pitt, I think that's a real manageable game for them. Bowling Green at home, and then Cincinnati. I think they've got some opportunities to work on some things these next few weeks to get ready for the stretch run. And then when they get to that point, it's Carolina on the road, it's Clemson on the road, it's Thursday night game against Florida State on the road against Miami. Those are games that they're going to be really having to get ready for. So I think this is a nice stretch right now to kind of get some things, iron out the wrinkles, get some things worked on, and get ready for the stretch run.
How big of a loss is DJ Coles?
It's a big loss. He became a really reliable receiver last year for them. He was a backup for the most part, but he had some games last year where he came up big for them, and I think that's it's going to hurt them significantly. But it's good that they've got these next few games coming up, because it's not that they don't have talent at wide receiver. They've got Corey Fuller really came out and had a great game in the opener there, and Dimitri Knowles had a huge catch there in the fourth quarter. I think he's going to be a bigger focal point of the offense. I think Marcus Davis is he's a strong, reliable guy that they really need to get more involved in the offense, and then obviously you've got Lowry Senior, and then you got some younger guys they want to get in. They got some younger guys they want to get in there. Kevin Asante, Josh Stanford. These are guys, freshmen that haven't played any snaps. So I think you'll probably see them on Saturday and in these next few weeks getting some snaps there, because they're going to spread the ball around, and he's going to get those guys involved. And it's just he's going to get comfortable with some guys, and this is the time for these newcomers to get that rapport with Logan, and for him to get the rapport with them. And I like Fuller. I think he's a good pass catcher. I think Knowles, if they're doing takeoff routes like that where he's just running by defensive backs, I don't think there's a whole lot of defenses that are going to be able to slow him down. He's the fastest receiver on the team, and so they've got options, but it does hurt to lose a senior who's got the experience that DJ Coles has. It's just a matter of him not being comfortable with that knee. I mean, he spent the whole off season trying to rehab it and get it ready, and he seemed ready, and then he gets hurt in the first quarter, on the first plays he played, and I don't think he was ever really that comfortable on it, and I think it's probably the right move for him to shut it down for the year, get it right, and come back next year and be an impact player for them next year.
I know it's only one game, and I'm not asking this question to put anybody's job in jeopardy or anything like that. But is Michael Holmes going to be the guy long term, you think, or is that going to be really by the truest sense of the word, or backfield by committee?
I think their goal from day one in the spring was to have a committee. I just, from talking to Shane Beamer, their goal was always to, if they had backs that were reliable enough to rotate, they were going to be super satisfied with the situation. They just don't have the experience to throw one guy out there and expect him to run for 7,800 yards like David Wilson did last year. And I thought that Holmes had some good runs, especially there in overtime, fourth quarter overtime. I think J.C. Coleman had some good runs. You're going to see Logan run a lot. I mean, I think he had 15 carries in that game, and Georgia Tech was really keen on the run, so there wasn't a whole lot of success on the ground. But you're going to see a lot of Holmes, and I think he'll continue to start, but, it's not like he's going to get 20 carries and everybody else is going to be splitting their ass. I think it's going to be 13, 14 carries for a couple guys, and a couple other guys might be getting 5 to 10, and they're going to spread the wealth. And I think Tony Gregory, I think his speed, is enticing for Tech, and they want to get him on the field. And they still haven't closed the door on playing Trey Edmonds. I mean, I think it's a long shot, but point where, they don't have the big play running back and they don't get the big plays in the running game, he might be an option as well. But I think at this point right now, they're happy that they have the depth they have and they have the skills they have in that position, and they're gonna rotate it between those guys. And I think that it's going to start with Holmes and Coleman, but I think those other guys are going to get some reps too, and I think that's the way they want it. I think they've been really lucky in the past few years to have feature-type backs who can carry the load. And I'm not saying none of these guys were feature-type backs. I think that it's more of a situation like it was in '07 when you had guys like Cedric Humes and Mike Emo and Brandon Orr all in the backfield sharing carries and being playmakers for the Hokies. And they did pretty well that year with those three guys rotating carries, and I think that's kind of the aim this year until one of those guys really steps up and proves that he's the A1 runner.
Final topic, Cody Jernell becomes hero with the kick in overtime to win the game. Based on what's happened to Cody in the past with his offseason, did he feel like he would ever get this chance again? And did you feel like he would ever be back on this team again?
Well, I mean, when it first happened, I can't say I did think that he'd get this chance, but I just feel like the circumstances were just so. As you find out more details, you hear more about the situation. It just was kind of a bizarre, weird, thing that happened, and they have some real strict rules there at Tech about suspensions and being able to be reinstated to the sports teams, and he fit all the requirements he fit. The charge was reduced. It was a misdemeanor, and he's got some. I guess he's got some community service type deal that he's got to work through. But he's gonna pay his debt, and he's back. And I don't think I know a lot of people, non-Tech fans especially, probably look at it and kind of roll their eyes. But I mean, that's the way the system is, and they set it up that way because they want to protect it from guys who are, getting serious trouble. And I don't think the situation was as big as people made it out to be. And I think he went through the process and he's back. And I think, he's not going to say anything about it anymore, and it's not going to be a topic of discussion anymore with him. But I know he's embarrassed by it, and I know he was hurt by it, and I know that his teammates were behind him, and that he apologized to them for the situation, and he apologized to the coaches. And I feel like he's probably paid his debt, and I think it's time to move on for him. So,
did he become more important based on the struggles of the kicking game in the Sugar Bowl last year? You think is that what made Tech realize of, wow, we got a really good kicker, I hope this guy can come back?
No, I mean, I just feel like that's the way I feel like they'd always had it in their mind that if he paid his debt and that he got through the legal system, that he'd be back on the team. I mean, that's just the way the rules are set up there.
Right.
And it's not like they kicked the head. I mean, the Sugar Bowl was not a situation where it was like, oh my God, it's so bad we don't have Cody. I mean, Meyer went out there and kicked 3 big-time field goals for him, and Frank had mentioned it during the preseason something about, maybe things would have been different if they had a kicker, but I'm like, how would they be any different? He kicked 3 field goals and he missed 1 in overtime, and it wasn't like the 1 in overtime was a chip shot.
Right.
So, I don't think I think people make such a big deal about the whole Jernell thing, and it's like, none of us were there. I don't know every detail of the situation, but as I hear things, I'm like, really, that's what happened, and I think it was just a bad situation for him, and and I think that they're welcoming him back because he is a big time kicker for him, and he's got the most experience, and it's going to benefit the program, it's going to help them, and I guess some people aren't going to like that, but he went through the process and it's over. So
well, and it's almost the case too of like in soccer, if the goalie screws up, everybody notices. I mean, when the kicker screws up in football, it gets magnified times 10.
I guess on the field and off the field, right. I guess in this situation. But he missed a big time field goal in the fourth quarter. You know, that could have been something that ended up coming back and haunting him, and he came through and kicked those two, one in the end of regulation and one in overtime. And I think kickers who struggle get a lot of attention, and I think when you're a kicker at Virginia Tech and you struggle, you get even more attention because the national perception of Virginia Tech and Frank Beamer is that they excel above everyone else in special teams. And yeah, for a long time that's been the case, but last year that certainly wasn't the case. And there's been years where they've had some guys that have struggled, and it certainly does help to have a guy, legal troubles and all, on your team that can make a field goal, and he's that guy, and he came through on Monday for him. So.
Final thing, Nathan, always appreciate your time. Can't wait till we can do it again in the future. Any worry at all about Austin Peay if you're a Tech fan?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, I just, I'm writing a story. They're wary of the upset because it's happened, and I think that's how you approach it. It happened, and it can happen again. Austin Peay's not even close to being as good as JMU was that year that they beat Tech. I mean, Austin Peay was picked ninth in the Ohio Valley Conference. Hasn't beaten a BCS, but hasn't beaten a Division 1A team since 1987. Hasn't been had a scholarship program for more than 5 years. I mean, I think they were back on scholarship in 06 or 07. They've only had 2 winning seasons since 2000. I mean, it's not the kind of program that you look at. And the reason they scheduled them, one of the main reasons they scheduled them, was because of the short, time between a Labor Day game and Saturday. They needed to get the game in there, and so it's obvious they scheduled the easiest opponent they could possibly schedule, and they expect to win. They expect to win big, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, that's the reason why these teams are scheduled for these college programs. That's the reason why Savannah State was on Oklahoma State's schedule. Because there are no exhibition games for college teams, so they schedule these teams so that they can work on their game and go against another team, and not practice against themselves and beat themselves up. And so, as Frank talks about all the time in the preseason, so it would be so beneficial for teams to have exhibition games and to be able to go, well, that's basically what this is for Tech. It's basically an exhibition game to get together on certain elements of their game, get better, and hope, beyond all hope, that the improbable doesn't happen and that they catch fire and they pop a few big plays. Because that's what JMU did. It was the hangover from Boise, and then JMU comes out there and they pop 2 big, huge plays, and Tech just kind of sleptwalk through that whole game, and they know not to do that again, and they know they can lose. So it's the option. The realistic view is it could happen, but it's probably not going to happen. So.
Well, I'll put my limited reputation on the line and say I don't think Austin Peay wins, but I don't think Tech hangs as many on Austin Peay as Oklahoma State hung on Savannah State, though, either.
I don't think they would ever do. I mean, and even last year they played App State and scored 62, I think, against App State, and that was kind of an aberration for Tech because part of it is Frank's not really one of those. He doesn't like to embarrass people. He doesn't like to, and he's not in the business to embarrass another coach and another program. And part of it is, there's a lot of players on Tech's team right now that need to get on the field.
Right.
So you're not going to see Logan play 4 quarters against Austin Peay. You're just not, And it's the highlights of Oklahoma State. I don't know how deep into their depth chart they got against Savannah State, but I just don't think you're going to see 70 points by Tech. I mean, you could, because the last 2 games that Austin Peay's played against BCS teams, they gave up 70 points to both. But if Tech scores 70, it's because Trey Grash is throwing a touchdown. It's not going to be because Logan's throwing a touchdown. So I don't think it's going to be a 70-point, 80-point game either. But it's probably going to be a pretty sizable difference.
So Nathan's basically saying if you get to Blacksburg, get there early because you might be leaving early too if you don't like a blowout. As always, Nathan, we appreciate the time. Look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, man.